So next speaker is Dr. Sukhbir Singh, and he is the Nodal Officer, Soto, Haryana, and he is also Senior Professor, Department of Hospital Administration at PGIMS Rohtak. He was awarded the state level award by the Honorable Chief Minister of Haryana for starting renal transplantation program at PGIMS Rohtak, Haryana. And he has to his name more than 30 international and national publications in indexed medical journals. So, Dr. Sukhbir, over to you.
Thank you, ma'am, and a very warm good morning to one and all sitting in this house. So I hope you will enjoy this topic. Laws are usually always boring because we cannot, do anything with these laws. We have to just follow whatever is given in the statute. And one more thing, ignorance of law is no excuse. We cannot say that out of 10 legal provisions, we have fulfilled 8, so we scored 80% and our performance is very good. No. The law will punish us for the remaining 2 provisions which we forget or about which we were not aware. So, living transplantation in India is very tricky, and it is strictly regulated by the Transplantation of Human Organ Act. We all know it, and we regularly heard about this in the news media also. So we have to be very careful while dealing with the living donation and transplantation. So these are few facts. Act, what is act? We all know any law passed by the legislature, either by the Parliament of India or by the state legislature. So in our case, the Transplantation of Human Organ Act, it is passed by Parliament of India. It is a central act. Rules, then after passing the rules, the concerned department, passing the act, the concerned department frame various rules for practical implementation of the act. Amendment, when an act is passed, it is implemented after some time, after a couple of years. The various society sections, they give input to the government for improving various provisions. So the government bring amendment, and the official change made to the act, they are known as amendments. And the states, they adopt the act and they can modify it to suit their own local requirements. So Transplantation of Human Organ Act, it was enacted in year 1994, and the mandate of this act was to regulate removal, storage and transplantation of human organs for therapeutic purposes, prevent commercial dealing in organs, and brainstem death defined. It is defined in the act itself. So this is chronology of act. First, it is enacted in year 1994. Then 1995, the rules were framed for implementation of this act. Then these rules, they were amended in year 2008. And this 94 act, it was amended in year 2011. By amendment, various new provisions were added in the act. And under this amended act, the new set of rules, they were notified in year 2014. So at present, we are following Transplantation of Human Organ Rules 2014. These acts and the rules, they are available on NATO website. So brain death. We all know what is brain death. It is an irreversible coma state, no brainstem reflexes. The concerned medical team, they perform the apnea test, and we have to exclude few medical conditions like primary hypothermia, metabolic or endocrine disorders, depressant drugs, neuromuscular blocking agents, etc. And this apnea so, who can give consent for diseased organ donation? Self when alive with 2 witnesses, person in lawful possession of the body, legal heirs of the deceased person, parents in case of minor, and if the body is unclaimed, then after more than 48 hours, the custodian of the body, whether it is in the hospital or in the prison. So the in charge of the custodian of body will give the consent. So under this TOHA Act, they have provided various enforcement agencies. First is the appropriate authority at state level, which is appointed by state for granting permission and monitoring of transplant centers. So in Haryana, we have 2 appropriate authorities. One is DGHS Haryana at Panchkula, and second is Director PGMS Rohtak. So the state government, they have divided districts among these 2 appropriate authorities, and they look after all these works related to transplant centers located in their respective districts. Next is authorization committee. It gives clearance of distant living donors. Then constitution of a medical board for certification of brainstem death. And donation is allowed only for the therapeutic use. So, few duties of appropriate authority: they inspect and grant registration to hospitals for transplantation. No hospital can perform transplantation without a valid authorization from the appropriate authority. They enforce required standards. Appropriate authority conduct regular inspection to examine the quality of transplantation and may conduct investigation into complaints regarding breach of provisions of the Act, and it has the power of civil court to summon any person, can request documents and issue search warrants. So next is authorization committee. It regulates living donor transplantation by reviewing each case to ensure that the living donor is not exploited for monetary gains and to prevent commercial dealing in transplantation. It seeks verification and NOC from respective domicile state if the donor and recipient and their place of transplant in different states. Their proceedings to be video recorded and decision notified within 24 hours, and the appeal against the decision of authorization committee may be made to the state or central government as the case may be. So there is also provision of competent authority under this Act only to deal with the cases of Indian near relatives. This competent authority cannot deal with the distant relative. So competent authority is either the medical superintendent, director, or in charge of the hospital. So hospital-based authorization committee, any hospital who is having a volume of more than 25 transplants in a year, they can request for constitution of their hospital-based authorization committee. And if any hospital is not having this, their in-house committee, then they have to take approval from the district authorization committee. So director or medical superintendent or in charge of the hospital shall be the chairperson of this hospital-based authorization committee. It's a mixed member body committee. So this is constitution of medical board for certification of brainstem deaths in a hospital. So these are panel of doctors. It's a 4-member body. One is RMP in charge of the hospital where this brainstem death has occurred. One physician treating the patient, one physician or surgeon from the hospital, and one from the panel of neurologist, neurosurgeon or intensivist. This panel of doctors has to be approved from the appropriate authority. And these 3 members, they need not require approval from the appropriate authority. So, any hospital who will constitute brainstem death certification boards or committee, they have to include one doctor, either neurologist, neurosurgeon or intensivist, and their name should be approved from the appropriate authority. And 2 independent certification at least 6 hours apart. You all know that apnea test, they repeat apnea test after 6 hours, and after second apnea test, they declare a patient as a brainstem death. So, in 2008, in the chronology slide, we saw that the TOHA Act 1994 was amended in year 2008, and under this amendment, the various provisions were incorporated regarding transplant centers for improving their facilities, equipment, manpower, regarding qualification of the transplant surgeon, website of transplant center and provision of transplant coordinator. So how effective was this TOHA Act 1994? Anyone from the house? What do you feel about the effectiveness of this act? We are still lagging behind in organ donations, so probably there was a scope of improvement. So why it did not really work? Declaration of brain death was not mandatory. Request for donation was not mandatory. Lack of awareness among the doctors and ICU staff. Delay or avoiding tendency in brain death declarations. Family, they did not consent, either due to lack of awareness or no one from the hospital make request them. And these are the other reasons like denial, my patient heart is still beating, you are giving me wrong information. Or they feel that if they will give consent, the doctor will not try enough to save their patient. So few clinical and administrative lacuna. Earlier impaneled specialist from brain death certification was not available. Suboptimal donor management. Recovery only in transplant authorized hospital. So under the amendment, the focus is given on increased donation from deceased donors. Although we are discussing about live donation and live transplants, but under these amendments, the government has laid emphasis on increasing awareness about donation from deceased donors, because the mismatch between the demand and supply, it cannot be fulfilled from the living donations only. So mandate of central government to establish national human organ and tissue removal and storage network at one or more places, and a provision of national registry for data collection and monitoring. So this table is showing you the difference brought in the amendment 2011. So earlier under 1994 Act, organs were included, and now we have included organs and tissue. Consent, earlier we were taking donor or next of kin consent. Now it is mandatory that we should also make request to the family. So in the brainstem death certification committee or medical board, now it is mandatory to have intensivist or anesthetist. Swab transplantation were earlier not allowed, but in year 2011 government made provision for swab transplantation. Authorization committee for union territories, earlier authorization committee approval was received from central government. Now they can take it from UTs. Definition of near relative is expanded in 2011, and grandparents and grandchildren's, they were also included under near relatives. Authorization committee, they can now give approval for foreign nationals also. And now the hospital, they can apply either for transplantation, storage or removal. Now a hospital now can have a authorization only for retrieval center, non-transplant retrieval centers. So these are the penalties. These penalties are also made strict under the new provisions. Earlier there was imprisonment of 5 years, now 10 years for removal of organ without authority, and fine is also now 20 lakhs from 10 lakhs. In case of removal of organ without authority, for first offense deregistration for 2 years, but under this amendment act the deregistration is for 3 years, and for second offense permanent deregistration. If there is any commercial dealing in organs, the imprisonment is increased up to 7 years, and this is the financial penalty. Any violation of TOHA, the imprisonment is increased to 5 years and the penalty is increased to 20 lakhs. So under this amendment act, the appropriate authority is now having the powers of civil court. Penalties are increased. Now there is a provision of advisory committee also for giving advice to the appropriate authority. And there is provision of national, regional and state level human organs and tissue removal and storage networks. And there is a registry of donors and recipient of human organ and tissues. These are few provisions which were made in the Act 2011, Amendment 2011. So networking, sharing and allocation of the organs. So time is up. So this is a networking flow diagram where you can show that NOTO is at the top. Then under NOTO there are ROTOs. ROTOs, they are created over a region cluster of states. Then at each state level we have SOTOs. And under SOTO we have transplant centers, retrieval centers and banks. So you can see the cluster of ROTOs. For example, in north, the ROTO is situated at PGMR Chandigarh, and these are the cluster of states under ROTO. So these are various ROTOs and the various states covered under these ROTOs. So these are the under Rule 2014 various provisions regarding cost, Disease donor maintenance cost will be borne by recipient. Retrieval of organ or tissue by institution. Preservation of these by government and transportation by NGO or societies. So that's all. I think I have taken more time. Any questions from the house? One or two questions from each side.
Any questions?
Speakers are allowed to
Yes, yes, sir.
take questions.
Because, sir, in your session, we are as a delegate.
Ji, sir.
Sir, my question is that there is a provision in Act के fixed years amendments आते रहेंगे. Because nowadays we feel that there is a need of amendment. तो वो कब आएंगे, कैसे आएगा, क्या आएगा, उसके बारे में अगर कुछ बता पाओ तो सर.
सर जो अमेंडमेंट्स है उसमें कुछ ऐसा नहीं है कि फिक्स ईयर में आएंगे. It is up to the government whether they feel that the request made or representation received from the doctors, civil societies, they are acceptable to them or not. Amendments are made by the parliament only. So it is up to the government whether they feel that they need amendment or not. If they feel yes, their suggestion need to be incorporated, then the cabinet meeting they approved it, take it to the parliament, place it before parliament, and then they amend the law. So it's a legal procedure, sir. We can only give our suggestions. Any questions from the house?
I think Dr. Sukhbir, due to shortage of time, Dr. Sukhbir is here till inauguration. I think
No questions is a very, surprising situation.
you can, I think, communicate
Either
with
you
him
have all
outside.
clear or all clear. Thank you very much.
Okay. I will request Dr. P.N. Gupta to felicitate Dr. Sukhbir Singh.